Hey guys, welcome to the interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Caitlyn complete guide as promised. So we have already had 2 commentary guides on Caitlyn, and I did say that we will be doing a complete guide on Caitlyn eventually when I get better at her. And have I got better at her? I have, but I still don't think I've mastered her, but I think I was way better than what I was at the start, of course. So always gotta have improvement there. Anyways, Caitlyn, how is she in the meta now? When on release, a lot of people thought that she was very good. Same thing as like Jace. People thought he was very good, but in reality, Caitlyn is balanced. She is not like completely broken, but at the same time, she isn't weak. So she's in like an alright spot. Like I wouldn't say S plus or S tier, but I would say like A tier. So, she has very clear strengths and weaknesses. Her weaknesses are mainly the lack of mobility and her lackluster mid-game, whereas her strengths are obviously her early game and late game, mainly because of having the longest range out of all the ADCs. So, in lane, you can very easily just auto-attack and poke people down just because of your high range. And therefore, you will have a lot of good matchups, like especially into someone like Kai'Sa or Vayne. But maybe not Lucian, because her weaknesses aside from CCs are like all-ins or like just high aggression. Someone like Draven or Lucian can bring that aggression to Caitlyn, and she has a problem dealing with that. But anyways, without further ado, we're gonna get into her skills, abilities, and leveling order. Alright, so jumping into the practice tool as usual. Alright, so we'll first talk about her leveling order. So at level 1, technically Caitlyn has a lot of flexibility at whichever spell she wants to take, but generally at level 1 you're going to take Q so you can have some poke. Then when you reach level 2, generally you will take W to start putting your traps, and then at level 3 you'll obviously take E. So you'll max Q first, of course taking ult whenever available, same as any other champion. Then you'll max your W, and then obviously you will max your E. Oops, forgot to take out there, but yeah. So you'll max your E last. So, Caitlyn's kit honestly is relatively simple and doesn't have too much to it, because Caitlyn is a relatively old champion, so she isn't really that complicated. Anyways, let's put down our dummy. So basically, Caitlyn's passive is called hit shot. So whenever you auto attack, you will get a stack at the bottom. When you reach 6 stacks, your next auto attack will have headshot. So a headshot basically does, it's a normal auto attack that does bonus damage, scaling off your AD and your crit, which is why obviously we built AD and crit. So boom, like that, it does extra damage. So something to note about the passive is if you auto attack from a bush, your bar charges twice as fast. So boom, headshot, as you can see, 1, 2, 3. Headshot. So whereas if you go here, you have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 headshot. So generally, when you're in lane, you want to like stay in attack from the bush as much as possible. Of course, taking note that when you're at the bush, you're against the wall, so you have lower chance of dodging abilities. So you don't always want to be in the bush, but you want to try to be in the bush if at all possible. And of course, try to auto attack the enemies when you have your headshot up, not the minions. So, yeah, so her W is a trap. So you can put a trap down like that. It does not give vision of the bush. So if you put a trap in the bush, it doesn't actually give vision. So you can put a trap down. Generally, you like to put it at choke points. For example, here, if the enemies are coming towards here, you want to put a trap in the choke point, and they will get trapped, of course. So, you can put, at rank 1, you can put two traps, and each time you level up your W, you can put 1 more trap. At max rank, you can put up to 5 traps. So, if you trap an enemy, they will get rooted for a second, and you get a free headshot. And this headshot has double the range. So here, this is my normal range. As you can see, I trap the enemies. I can move all the way back to here, and I can actually auto-attack the enemies all the way from there. So, that's something to note. Same story with the net. So if you net somebody, I just realized I actually missed out her Q. So her Q is the Pilt over Peacemaker. It fires a narrow skill shot like so, and if it hits an enemy, it will its range will become larger. Let's put ourselves to 0 CD. So here, as you can see, it is fairly narrow like that, but as you can see, when you hit an enemy, it kind of like spreads its wings, I guess you could say, and it becomes wider, like that. So I'm gonna put it in max range. You'll see that it will extend its. There you go. So it was very narrow and it extended the range. So something to note is that enemies hit after the first one. So other than whoever got hit by the narrow one, the people who get hit by the wide one take 40% less damage, unless they are trapped or netted. So I've gone through the trap. Now we're gonna go through the net. So the net basically shoots out a net that throws you back. So like that. That's your only mobility. It throws you back. And if you hit someone with the net, they're slowed by 50%, I believe, for about 1.5 seconds. Like that, and you get a free headshot. Like that. So, one of the combos that you can do is you EQ. So, EQ auto. So, EQ auto, like that. Another kind of small combo you can do is to, of course, incorporate your trap. Just something to note is that it's very hard to just straight up trap enemies, because the trap takes a time to arm, like you can see here. It takes like a second to arm, and no enemy is going to stay at that spot when they see that you're trapping them on their hit. The better way to do it is if your support stuns or root someone. Let's say Lux hits a Q, then you can do the combo, which is, of course, you trap, net, Q, and double headshot. So the headshot from the trap and the net can stack. So if you want to maximize the number of headshots, it's like that. So you charge up your headshot, then you do the combo. So like that, trap, net, Q, headshot, 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 like that. So you can get a triple headshot. That's how you do a triple headshot. And this is her ult. So her ult has a huge range, as you guys can see. At like max level, her range is pretty much 1/4 of the map. As you can see here, from like this red buff spot, I can reach all the way to my inhib tower, and I can reach all the way to the dragon pit. So her ult has a huge range. Of course, the range levels up each time you level your ult, but of course you do need vision. So we know that the dummy is there, but if we're out of vision, we of course can't hit him. So if we put a ward there, we can actually hit him from a long ways away. So here, as you can see, this is the max range that I can hit the dummy at. And I'm over here at the red buff wall. So basically, this is a point and click ability. You have to choose an enemy. What happens is you channel for a second and you fire a shot like that. The shot cannot be blocked by the towers, minions, or monsters, unlike Akshan's ultimate, but it can be blocked by other enemies who get in the way of the line. So yeah, that's pretty much it for her skills as well as her leveling order. Let's now jump into her build, runes, and spells. Right, so here we have her build. Now this is the personal build that I go for. I don't actually like to go for a BF sword into an attack speed item. I like to complete my Infinity Edge entirely first, because I feel that unless you're going for the Charge Blade rush, where you go for BF sword into Charge Blade, I actually think that straight up completing Infinity Edge makes more sense. However, if you go for BF sword into Rapid Fire or BF sword into whatever item, I think it makes sense as well. So my build personally is as shown. So BF sword, Rapid Fire Cannon, Static Shift, Moral Reminder, and the Guardian Angel. Now the reason why we go for Moral Reminder and not Serelda's Grudge is because the slow isn't very useful, because you already slow on your E. The slow on the traps doesn't actually matter because they're rooted on the spot anyway. The ult cannot reliably slow, and it's mostly used as a finisher anyway, and you will really only use your Q to slow, which obviously means it's not worth it. You might as well just get the Grievous Wounds instead. So first item I go for is Infinity Edge, of course, for the AD and crit rate. Then I like to go for 2 energized items, which in my case is the Rapid Fire Cannon second for the increased range, of course with all the other stats as well, like especially the attack speed and crit rate. Then I like to go for Static Shiv for, of course, more attack speed, more crit, and also the energized passive, which is the AoE, like lightning shock kind of thing. Then I of course go for the Moral Reminder, and then the Guardian Angel. Now, I can show you some variations of the build. Firstly, instead of going for Guardian Angel, if there are no like assassins on the enemy team, or no one who can like one-shot you, like if there is like, of course, Kha'Zix and Rengar, forget about it. You're gonna have to go for the GA. if there's someone who can dive backline and assassinate you, like let's say a Fiora, a Riven, a Camille, might still want to go for a GA, but another option you have is the Bloodthirster. So the Bloodthirster will give you 100% crit, and as well as being kind of like a sustained item, because you will of course get the vamp from the Bloodthirster, which will of course allow you to survive a lot better and a lot longer. So it's sort of like a pseudo Guardian Angel in a way. Now, I personally like the range of the rapid fire cannon and the damage from the static shift, but the third energized item you can actually go for is Storm Razor. Storm Razor gives you a little bit of AD, a little bit, of course, the 25% crit, and a little bit less attack speed than these two items. So, I have tried the Storm Razor, and the slow is very useful, especially in conjunction with like something like a static shift. So, in case you guys didn't know, there are a couple of combos for the energized item. So, going for like rapid fire with static shifts gives you a long range AoE attack. Like rapid fire cannon with Storm Razor gives you a long range slow, and static shift with Storm Razor gives you an AoE slow. So the slow on the static shift, the slow on the Storm Razor, especially combined with something like a static shift, is really good. But personally, I've tried out the build, and I've tried out combinations of rapid fire cannon, static shift, and Storm Razor, and in different orders as well. Like for example, I tried Storm Razor into rapid fire, I've tried like static shift into Storm Razor, etc, etc. And personally, for myself, I like going for rapid fire and static shift. But you guys can try it out yourself. In my opinion, this is not really what is better. It's more of personal preference, whether you want to go for Storm Razor, rapid fire cannon, or static shift, and what kind of order you want to go for. So for the boots, I generally go for Gluttonous Greaves because there isn't actually any lifesteal in this build unless you go for the Bloodthirster last, in which case is normally you normally need lifesteal earlier anyway. So I like to go for the Gluttonous Greaves, and of course if you want to, you can go for the defensive options as well. And of course for the enchantment, we always go for the Stasis, of course, because Caitlyn, very low mobility, very easy to die. Stasis is absolutely essential. Alright, so now that we've covered the build, we're going on to the runes now. So for the runes, pretty straightforward. As usual, Conqueror, of course, because Conqueror basically is the only rune any AD carry takes, except for Fleet Footwork for some AD carries like Jhin. So, for the second one, Hunter Vampirism, of course, for the Lifesteal, pretty much is the best AD carry rune as of now. For the Resolve rune, either Bone Plating or Hunter Titan. So Hunter Titan, of course, for heavy CC teams, and Bone Plating for heavy burst teams. So if I had to choose between the two, like if there was a lot of CC and a lot of burst, I would probably go for the Bone Plating, because Bone Plating actually will help you a lot in the mid to late game. In laning phase, it's pretty much useless because it gets proud way too easily by enemies. And in the mid to late game, it's really useful. Like against a Kha'Zix or Rengar who just jumps on you, the Bone Plating can save you a lot of damage, and you can, you know, just press your Zanyas or whatnot to save yourself. And of course, for the Inspiration rune, we're going to go for Sweet Tooth, just for the sustain for health and mana in lane. For the spells, obviously, it's Flash Barrier or Flash Heal, depending on if your support takes heal or not. If they take heal, take Barrier. If they don't, then obviously you take heal. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for the runes and spells. Now we can actually jump onto the gameplay. Alright, so moving on to the gameplay, of course. So if you guys enjoyed the video so far, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you guys have any questions, put it down in the comments below. Alright, so in this matchup, we are against a bot lane. But the enemy AD carry we're against is Jinx. So now Jinx I consider Jinx a pretty good matchup because she is very weak in the early game, whereas Caitlyn is really strong in the early game. So it's a lot easier to bully her, although the one thing is that her range isn't really that short. So if she switches over to rocket form, we barely outrange her. So that is the thing. Anyways, regardless, here as you can see, I'm in the bush. I'm just charging up my headshot by last hitting the minions from the bush, and now that I have my headshot, I'm walking up trying to hit her, but obviously she's a little bit out of range, so instead I'm just gonna auto attack the minion. Of course, much like Jin's fourth shot, you wouldn't be getting the fourth shot or hit shot onto the enemy 100% of the time. Of course, you do it if you can, but if you can't, then so be it. So regardless, what you can try to do is you can try to queue through the minions all the time to just try to poke them down, because it's really easy to hit your Q onto the enemies just because of how wide it is, as you can see here. So generally, whenever it is up, you should be just trying to fire your Q into the enemies. Now take note that if you keep on firing your Q through the minion wave, it will thin the minion wave and therefore cause it to push, so that is something to take note of. And you don't necessarily always want your wave to push, so just take note of that is something that could happen. So here, as you can see, we can just auto attack the Jinx, and when they're running away, you can just keep on auto attacking them just because of how long your range is. That's one of the main benefits of Caitlyn, that, you know, as your enemies are walking away, you can just keep on auto attacking them. Like compared to any other champion, you can normally just get in an extra auto or two onto the enemies as they're walking away from the trade, which will of course let you win the trade harder or equalize the trade if you're actually losing it. But yeah, so here we've pushed in the minion wave. The enemy team obviously has backed, I guess, so we're just gonna back and pick up a BF sword, which will give us a huge injection of AD, especially in this laning matchup. So I wouldn't say Caitlyn, I would say you should try to aim to get a kill or two in lane, just because of how dominant Caitlyn's laning phase is. But the reality of the situation is sometimes that's very difficult, and if you play too aggressive, you know, like how Draven plays too aggressive, you are gonna get ganked. And if you get ganked, your chances aren't very good to survive because you don't really have a lot of mobility. So you don't necessarily want to play overly aggressive. So even if you get out of laning phase, like even or even behind, it isn't the end of the world, because Caitlyn scales very well into the late game, just that she has a very weak mid game. If you have a very good early game, it can sort of try to offset her weak mid game by a little bit, so that you won't feel as weak just because of how you're ahead. But honestly, yeah, so here, as you can see, when I have my headshot, I try to auto attack the Jinx. I auto attack her at 1 extra time, and I also get off my Q. So here, both enemies are 1 HP. I'm flashing forward, auto attacking the brand, but it doesn't really work out. Here I Q, hitting through the brand onto the Jinx, so getting a very nice double kill there. But yeah, so it pretty much worked out. Then if you notice, I actually used my net in reverse to actually close the gap, and I didn't actually mention this just now when going through the skills and abilities, but that is one other use of the net, which you can net backwards to push yourself forward. Now, something to note is that is a very aggressive move, and you're using your only form of mobility to gap close. And if you do that and you don't get the kill, or if you do that you get the kill and like the jungler shows up or something, you pretty much have no other way to escape. So that is just something to take note of if you want to use your net aggressively. Generally, I would say like 80% of the time you want to use it defensively, and generally you wouldn't want to use it aggressively. Even if you want to catch up to a team fight, if you use it aggressively into the team fight and your team starts dying, you have no way to escape the team fight. Alright, so regardless, so here we're back in the lane. Just picked up, fresh off our double kill. We managed to take by the entire Infinity Edge. Of course, getting a double kill in lane normally allows you to do that. Here we have a Shyvana on our team, so obviously she's going for Dragon. Here, the enemy team is just over the wall. So here I'm pretty much just auto attacking whoever I can, and I actually managed to ult the brand for the kill, if you guys can notice. Now, after you get your Infinity Edge, you will realize you have a very huge power spike. Your autos will hurt a lot and hit like a truck, particularly if you're ahead, like in this matchup. Like my autos hit like a truck, and if you guys saw, like 2 autos did more than half of Brand's HP, which allowed him to go low enough for me to ult him for the kill. Alright, so now we're back into the lane. Of course, there are minions to be had, so we're just gonna take the minions. We can see Camille coming up just through the vision that we have placed down. So here I put a trap to just try to zone her away. Now the traps, obviously, aside from just trapping people right on top of their heads when they are already CC to chain the CC, the only other real use of traps is just putting it to zone people away. Obviously, your traps aren't like Jin traps where they are invisible. They are visible, so enemies can see exactly where they are. So clearly, enemies are not going to be stupid enough to just blindly step in your trap. So mainly it's used for zone control, where if you put a trap there, pretty much you're telling the enemy you are not allowed to step at that area, because if not, they will get trapped and take a whole lot of damage from your headshot. So that's the main point of the traps. Of course, alternatively, is during team fights, when the team fight is very messy, it's very easy to just put down multiple traps, and enemies can't really see the trap because they're in a huge team fight. So that's another use of the trap. Alright, here I get ulted by the Camille, but Shyvana comes in for the save, and Nami ults as well. Shyvana gets the kill onto the enemy bot lane, and I try to take I wasn't trying to kill the Camille there because obviously she was really high on health, but I'm just trying to do as much damage as I can to her. Here Camille realizes she can defend the tower 1v3, so we just take the tower like so, and yeah, so here comes the chase. Unfortunately the Caitlyn and Shyvana are really low, so thankfully for me, he actually decides to go for the not Caitlyn. She decides to go for the Nami. So Nami and Shyvana are really low. So I think what he was probably thinking there is he was probably thinking that he can kill Nami and Shyvana quickly, and then it'll be a 1v1 with me and him, and he might have a chance to kill me. But what he didn't notice is that wasn't really the case. So in the end, he trades 1-for-1 for Nami, arguably worth on our side, sorry, trading support for their top laner. So anyways, we've already got the tower, but you know, as usual, normally the support will roam and the ADC will just go to the lane to retrieve the minions and take the farm. So here that I've pushed out the wave, we can both roam. So here, just picking up the skull crab. Of course, we want to pick up the skull crab whenever possible. Shyvana turns up, so we're just gonna give her the skull crab because the jungler gets more gold and XP from the skull crab because of the fact that they took smite. So that always give the jungle monsters to your jungler if they like show up, especially important ones like the skull crab. So here we're just gonna take a free mid tower because there's no one around to defend it. Now the entire enemy team shows up. So here Jace gets caught by the bubble and he lives on 1 HP, gets ulted by me and Akshan, and he dies. So Akshan's ult was kind of still charging, if not Akshan would have got the kill there. My ult fires faster. And yeah, Caitlyn ult is generally better than Akshan because Akshan ult gets blocked by everything and needs to charge, whereas Caitlyn's ult is just one shot and doesn't really need to charge. Here, I'm just playing with fire there. I'm so fit, I'm 5-0 and 2 that I just decide to just walk up and auto attack people, but obviously, being an immobile ADC, that you can never do that, and honestly, I got punished for it as I should have, and I'm very lucky to escape with my life. I should have died there, but thankfully I did. So here we have completed the rapid fire cannon as well as the Zanya's Hourglass. So we have a very good safety tool now, especially against the Camille ult. So if we get ulted by Camille, pretty much the only way we live is to press our Zanya's Hourglass, because if not, she pretty much will just destroy us. So here I'm pinging for Dragon because we have a Shyvana on our team, and Shyvana, it's very important for Shyvana to get dragons to scale. Shyvana instead goes for the enemy red buff, which I believe she manages to pick up, but because of that she runs into the Jinx and the Brand, and because of that she dies. So not really the best trait for her, because Dragon was up. Here I just pretty much just one shot I pretty much just one shot the Brand because of how much damage I have, but in turn I get one shot by the Pantheon, who ults in and just spears me for the instant kill. So a little bit unfortunate there, but we kind of got caught in between the enemy bot lane and like the Pantheon and Camille, who was walking towards us. We did pretty well until Pantheon ulted on top of our heads. Not too much we could have done there. We already used ER flashes down. We had no mobility to escape the Pantheon, so couldn't really salvage the situation there. And as a result, the enemy team picks up the Dragon, which is obviously not good for Shyvana and not good for our team in general. So here, enemy team is obviously going for the Rift Herald. They are all going for the Rift Herald, whereas Shyvana decides that her blue buff is more important than contesting the Rift Herald. So here, honestly, me and Nami can't really do a whole lot. At most, all we can do is like try to poke them out, but there are like 4 people doing the Rift Herald, so obviously they're going to pick it up really quickly. So here, as usual, being an ADC, we pick up whatever farm we can find. So here the Raptors are up, so we're just going to pick up the Raptors. And we're going to go mid, pick up the Cannon Minion, and just, yeah, in general, in the neutral game as an ADC, just find ways to farm. So pick up like a half of the mid wave, maybe, and yeah. So here, this is technically where we're in mid game, but it isn't gonna seem that I'm really weak in this particular game because I'm 6-1 and 5, so I'm actually very far ahead of majority of the enemy team. Maybe only like Pantheon is somewhat comparable, but majority of the enemy team is really behind compared to me. And yeah, so I'm going to be doing a lot of damage, and therefore it isn't gonna seem like the mid game is that weak. But if I was like even, this is the point of the game where you would feel generally really weak until you complete like your third crit item, and as well as like maybe like around your third crit item is where you start feeling a little bit strong again, like your third crit item plus like maybe the moral reminder. So here Pantheon ults in, so I'm gonna have to sidestep it. Nami bobbles him right as he lands, and I start auto attacking, ult for the damage. You don't always have to ult to execute, but ulting for the damage is helpful as well. So here Camille tries to jump into the backline, but jumps into all four of us, tries to flash out. Pantheon tries to do the same, but we can't let all of them get away with it. I E aggressively to get the kill onto the Pantheon, and I'm trying to kill more people. Jace is in the jumps into the party, and he dies to Irelia. Here I'm trying to chase Bran, but Bran is a little bit too fast, so no real way of getting the Bran. Jinx in the meantime getting off a split push while the entire rest of the map is fighting. Bran tries to 1v3 and wave clear. Bran does have a lot of wave clear, but what he doesn't realize is that Irelia can simply just engage on him like so, and he's gone. So we only have one cannon minion, and Jinx is coming back to defense, so we can't really push onto an inhib. Instead, we're going to try to push onto the bot lane tier 2 tower, and as you can see, I'm setting up my traps at where I think the enemies are coming from. Unfortunately, Camille comes straight down the lane, so those traps are a little bit less useful at this point. Alright, so here we're gonna get a nice, good quality reset and get ourselves the static shift as well as the executioner's calling, of course, to reduce the healing of the enemy team. Now, honestly, the enemy team doesn't really have a whole lot of healing right now, aside from the Jinx's rapid fire cannon. But you never really know. Like they might go for a little bit more lifesteal later on or what. But anyways, as I said, you need the penetration because the Camille and the Pantheon likely will go for a GA or some form of armor later on in the game. So really good to just preemptively just build the armor penetration item. So Baron is the only objective that's up. Of course the dragon is coming up soon, but here we're just hovering around the area. I realize there's a huge wave at bot, so I'm just going to head over to bot, clear the huge wave, and try to make it back to my team. Thankfully no fight breaks out. Here I'm going to try to take the red buff. Shyvana shows up, so luckily she gives me the red buff. And yeah, so I'm at 3 items already. I'm really fed, so you should always, of course, give your ADC the red buff, especially if they're fed. Now to be fair, Shyvana isn't like doing horribly bad. She's actually doing alright, so wouldn't really blame her if she didn't want to give red buff there. Here we pick up a nice double kill. Auto attacks are really hurt a lot right now. So here we got like an AFK Jinx, who obviously dies in an instant, and the dragon is up. So I'm pinging for the dragon again, and Shyvana again. Excuse me, Shyvana again is not at the dragon. So this Shyvana isn't really like very wary of objective timers, and she just sort of is somewhere else when the objectives are up. But thankfully we don't actually have a contest, so we actually just managed to pick up a free dragon. So here we really could have actually gone for maybe could have gone for a risky Baron, or could have just tried to push. Shyvana just straight up back, so we have a huge wave at top. Here Pantheon comes in, but I place the trap down where he's going to land, so he instantly gets rooted when he comes in with his ultimate. Now that's the thing about Caitlyn's traps, is that Caitlyn's traps counters a lot of things, like the Pantheon ult, she sort of counters it in a way. She counters things like Guardian Angel or Stasis, because when you're stuck in the Stasis or the GA, you're going to come out of it eventually, and she can just put a trap right where you are on top of your head. And the moment you get out of GA or Stasis, you're not going to have any time to react, because the trap is already there, it's already primed. You're just instantly going to get rooted by the Caitlyn trap, and Caitlyn therefore gets a free auto attack on you. And you know, with like that 1 second of being rooted, like who knows how much the enemy team could do to you. Probably you're going to be instantly destroyed. But yeah, so here we got 3 members of the enemy team down. The Camille jungle isn't actually down. She's actually still alive, but we're just going to, of course, just do the Baron just because we're really strong. I'm setting up the traps because those are the likely spots that they'll be coming from. Camille runs straight into the trap. She honestly could have just hook shot over the wall, but she doesn't. So she gets trapped by the trap, and honestly, her getting trapped right there kind of just made the Baron relatively uncontested. Like Shyvana got a nice uncontested smite there. If she hook shot over the wall, we might actually have a smite fight. So yeah, so now we're 12, 1 and 10 at this point in time. We're just giga fed. We have our 3 crit items completed, we have our moral reminder completed, and we have a BF sword to boot. So here, as you guys can see, Brand stands absolutely no chance. We just auto attack him down, Q, he's dead. And we put traps behind him as well, so if he wants to walk backwards, he's going to be walking into those traps. So yeah, so here we have the Baron, and we pretty much all the members of the enemy team are dead except the Jinx. Camille is going to be coming out real soon, but it doesn't really matter. We are just going to force the end of the game. Pick up the kill on the Jinx at the same time. One auto attack from me did half her health, by the way. Why not? So there we have the dominant Caitlyn gameplay. This is what Caitlyn's supposed to look like if you're playing her the correct way. You're supposed to be destroying people, and there we go. So anyways guys, as usual, here we have the stats. So thank you guys for watching the video, and goodbye.